The greatest threat to your existence isn't failure. It isn't the critics, the economy, or the bad luck you think is following you. The greatest threat to your soul is a warm bed, a steady paycheck that you hate, and the crushing silence of a life where nothing ever goes wrong because you never try anything new. We have been sold a lie that the goal of life is to reach a place of total security, a place where the friction stops and the stress disappears. But look around. In nature, when something stops meeting resistance, it starts to rot. When water stops moving, it becomes a breeding ground for disease. When a heart stops under stress, it flatlines. Your comfort zone is not a sanctuary. It is a beautifully decorated grave, and every day you stay there, you're just digging it deeper. Most people are living in a state of terminal satisfaction. They have enough to survive, but not enough to thrive. They have just enough comfort to keep them from quitting, but not enough challenge to make them grow. This middle ground is the most dangerous place on earth because it's where dreams go to die a slow, painless death. You don't notice the loss of your potential because it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in the not todays. It happens in the maybe next years. It happens in the gradual narrowing of your horizons until your entire world fits inside a living room and a smartphone screen. You are biologically designed for expansion, yet you are choosing contraction because it feels safer. But safety is an illusion. The walls you build to keep the world out are the same walls that keep you locked in. If you want to know where your future self is hiding, look toward the things that make you sweat. Look toward the conversations that make your heart race. Look toward the projects that make you feel like an imposter. That feeling of discomfort, that internal screaming that tells you to turn back, is actually the sound of your old self breaking. You cannot become the person you are meant to be while clinging desperately to the person you used to be. Growth requires a fundamental betrayal of your current limitations. It requires you to step into the fire of the unknown and trust that the person who walks out the other side will be stronger than the one who walked in. We avoid discomfort because we associate it with pain. But discomfort is actually the price of admission for a life worth living. Every great thing you admire in this world, every masterpiece, every breakthrough, every heroic act, was born in the cradle of intense discomfort. Nobody ever changed the world while they were feeling relaxed. Nobody ever discovered a new continent while they were comfortable. The pioneers, the innovators, the icons, they all had one thing in common. They were willing to be uncomfortable longer than anyone else. They were willing to look like fools. They were willing to fail in public. They were willing to sit in the cold, dark uncertainty of a new idea until they found the light. When you feel the weight of resistance, you have to stop viewing it as an obstacle and start viewing it as a signal. Friction is proof that you are moving. Resistance is the universe's way of asking you how badly you want it. If it were easy, it wouldn't be growth. It would just be maintenance. You aren't here to maintain your life. You are here to transcend it. But you can't do that while you're preoccupied with being okay. You have to be willing to be not okay. You have to be willing to be exhausted, frustrated, and confused. You have to be willing to let your ego be bruised. The ego wants comfort because the ego wants to stay the same. But your spirit wants growth, and growth demands the destruction of the status quo. Stop waiting for the fear to go away. It's never going away. Fear is a permanent resident of the frontier. If you are waiting for the day you feel ready and fearless to start your journey, you will die in that grave of comfort. The secret isn't to be fearless. It's to move while your legs are shaking. The secret is to take the leap while your heart is hammering against your ribs. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the realization that something else is more important than your fear. Your purpose is more important than your comfort. Your legacy is more important than your temporary embarrassment. Look at your life right now. Where have you become stagnant? Where have you stopped pushing? Where have you allowed the weeds of good enough to overgrow the garden of great? That is the edge of your grave. And you have a choice to make today. You can pull the covers back up, turn off the light, and drift back into the numbing sleep of the ordinary. Or you can kick the door open, you can walk out into the wind and the rain of the real world. You can embrace the struggle, invite the pressure, and demand more of yourself than anyone else would ever dare to ask. The grave is quiet. The grave is predictable. But the grave is empty of life. The growth you seek is waiting for you in the very place you've been running from. It's in the hard work, the long hours, the difficult truths, and the terrifying risks. Step out of the circle. Break the cycle of safety. Choose the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. Because the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Don't let your story end in the comfort zone. Don't let your potential be buried under a mound of excuses. Get up, get out, and get uncomfortable. That is where you finally begin.